And what about this other poll that we're running? Should religion be banned in schools? Yes or no?
Is this off the back of the Katharine Berbalsingh Michaela school?
Yeah.
Not like that, no. I don't think it should be banned like that.
Okay. What do you think in terms of where we are? The fact is that we've got the UK's counter-terrorism chief warning of this unprecedented rise in terrorism in this country. He goes to say it really is a radicalisation moment. There's been a 25% increase in intelligence coming into counter-terrorism police. He says they've got all this intel now about terrorism, about violent extremism. He gets it from online reports, public reports from MI5, and he goes further to say Islamist extremists have been energised by the conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got two words: not surprised. I think these figures just really basically solidify how a lot of people are feeling on the streets at the moment with the rises in anti-Semitism. I'm not feeling safe on the tube at the moment because.
Why not?
Well, because it's just become normal at all these protests to sort of... I watched a couple of interviews with people at protests openly saying that they support Hamas and that they support, Israel not being a proper thing and from the river to the sea. Now, these are all sentiments that terrorists have said, and the fact that that's just becoming normalised and there's only been 33 arrests in this massive surge is ridiculous. And when you say, do you recognise Britain? Absolutely not.
And why is that? Is it because it's changing very rapidly, or is it because it's more vociferous in what you're hearing?
It's the change in mentality towards what Britain actually stands for. I mean, all these movements and also a lot of university students sort of coming out and supporting terrorist organisations. Something was not on my 2024 bingo card. That's what's going on there. So I think it's actually this change in the public discourse and blatant support of these groups, and it's just become normalised, which I find really concerning.
So Andy, Samara's not alone here, because what the police are reporting is that they're seeing fear, anxiety, uncertainty in a whole range of communities across the UK. We have the threat level at substantial, meaning an attack is likely. Scotland Yard now opening a special unit to deal with hostile state actors, mainly related to Iran, to Russia and to China. They're arresting people under the Official Secrets Act. This is not a very safe country at the moment.
It isn't. I think, obviously, a lot of the things that we hear about now have probably been going on for a while. They've just been classified. We wouldn't be told, and I think that's quite nice that we wouldn't have to be told. We don't have to worry. We can just leave it to the professionals. So I think there's always going to be threats. We're a major country. There are always going to be people that want to take us down, so there are always going to be threats. I think just the visibility of those threats is increasing. You're seeing more and more sympathy with those kind of causes on the streets, which is incredibly concerning. But
when we see 20% of the arrests have been children, and some age 11.
That's a brilliant point.
Yeah, some age 11. So it is this different type of extremism.
So what is going on here? So you've got radicalisation of children. They're clearly being given information by someone. They don't come up with these ideas out of the blue, do they?
Well, and actually, on that note, the radicalisation of children is how the Middle East have bred their anger.
Easiest to influence.
And, complete distaste for the Western world. In Iran, for example, at school, they chant every morning, 3-year-olds, death to America. These children are indoctrinated. So the fact that we're seeing that now in the UK is a worrying sign.
So let me just ask you the same question. Should we ban religion from schools? If that is the case, if these kids are being indoctrinated by their parents, now we are still a majority Church of England country at the moment, but that will change as migration patterns change. Why don't we just do what Katharine Berbalsingh says, take religion out of schools completely, and then everyone is under the same banner?
Well, are we going to ban Church of England schools as well?
No, faith schools are fine. And if
okay, so faith schools are fine, so the Christian schools are fine.
No, faith schools are fine. And did you know what faith means,
I do know what faith schools are, but this whole discourse, it is dogmatic politics. The Church of England schools are fine.
Listen,
it is.
So if this child really wants to pray at school twice a day,
right,
and they're that religious in their family,
sure,
send them to a faith school.
Right. Okay. So
what's wrong with that?
Well, I think because Michaela is a selective school.
She's not a selective school at all.
They are selective
in their.
She's got 50. Catherine's got 50% Muslim pupils in that school.
Okay.
Can we just have on record that Michaela is not a selective school?
It is. It's an indirectly selective school. There are a number of actions against them for the way that they treat their pupils. They are a selective school. They consistently off-roll many students. the Michaela School is not a model school.
What do you mean off-roll?
Off-roll, it's a term used by... I should probably throw in an allegedly there for legal reasons.
You should.
But off-rolling is the act of illegally removing a student from the school's role, whether it's because they've got special educational needs that the school can't fulfil, or they're not performing well enough on progress aid. They do off-roll. But just on your point, it's a 50% Muslim school.
Yes.
Why can't they just have one teacher at lunchtime to watch an empty classroom, so then children can go and pray?
Because
is it that difficult?
She's the head teacher. She and the governors have decided this is the way the school is to be run. If you like it, you enrol. If you don't, leave.
I think it's really important for children being educated in Britain to learn British values from a very young age. And I think that that's important because that's fine, but Islam is not the overarching sort of religion in this country, and it's important
Doesn't that go back to the nub of this, which is actually, if you come to this country, everyone is welcome into this country, but guess what? You have to abide by our customs, like many other countries, and that's what our viewers are getting so upset about, is we are constantly giving ground. We are no longer that Great Britain. We no longer stand up for our own values. Isn't that what Samara means?
I don't know. What does Samara mean? I think Samara would... You'd have to ask Samara what she means.
But that's the nub of the problem, isn't it? So people are seeing change in this country.
Change is natural.
But
what I mean is we're not bending over backwards just because, the numbers show that there's so many Muslim students in the school at the time. We're not now going to teach Islam in that school. We need
no one's saying... Well, I think you do have to teach Islam as part of the religious studies curriculum.
I think it's also important to say that this is from the ONS, that Michaela is a non-selective school that has 25.7% of its pupils who have free school meals. Sure. They have more disadvantaged children than the local population percentage.
Sure. Okay.
And yet their exam results are brilliant.
Yeah, well, let's see where their students really go. Their pupil referral unit.
I'm giving you
their pupil referral unit referral rate is off the charts.
They exploit the PRU. Multifactorial.
They exploit the PRU system. It's disproportionately high.
You have to explain that. You can't just give us jargon. What do you mean by that?
The pupil referral units. It's where they send naughty kids to go and rot. Really, they use them. They abuse them.
I think you need to be very careful.
No, they abuse the pupil referral unit system.
No,
yes,
I think you need to be fair to... I will move away from this. I have to be very careful here. They clearly have concerns about those pupils and have referred them, right?
Sure.
So we cannot draw any conclusions because we can't, because we don't know those facts. But it goes back to the bigger issue, doesn't it, Samara, here? The head teacher and the governors have chosen to run that school in a certain way. They're getting good results. Now, if the parents... And they know what the values of that school are. If the parents buy into that, great. And if they don't, you can take your kids away.
Yeah, that's the freedom that this country allows them.
Can I just come back to something else here, which I'm very aware of, because on Talk Today on Thursday, we had a paper reviewer, Nikki Hodgson, and she lives in East London, where you and I both live, or you don't anymore, but you grew up there. And I totally agree with what she's saying. And there's a big article here in one of the newspapers. Walking through the borough of Tower Hamlets, which is in East London, where I live, it's clear to see the sympathies of the families on the on the conflict in Israel. There are Palestinian flags flying from lampposts, and they're outside my flat as well, across all the lampposts. This is public property, which the council has not removed. Now, we know that borough has 40% of the population being Muslim. The Jewish community there, according to this article, are scared and they're worried about what is going on. One Jewish family has had to move away from Tower Hamlets. In Wapping, they said graffiti has been daubed outside the primary school that says Israel scum. It wasn't cleaned away for 2 weeks. Now, Tower Hamlets is also facing legal action over its refusal to take down those flags. Don't they have a moral duty to take down those flags, which are on lampposts owned by the authority, which, by the way, I pay for through my council tax?
Yeah, absolutely agree. I live in Tower Hamlets as well. I see it on the lampposts on Bethnal Green Road every single day. I think taken down. I don't think they should be allowed to face public property.
Why are we not taking them down?
I think probably because Tower Hamlets is a very poorly managed and underfunded council.
I don't think it's underfunded. It's got Canary Wharf sitting in it. It's got a load of money that's going in. I question where the money's going.
Well, I think there's been multiple issues around alleged corruption with Tower Hamlets. There have been those allegations.
It is such a slap. It's such a slap in the face for any Jewish person to go around and look at those flags in Britain, a country where they're meant to feel safe and protected, and for those measures not to be taken down immediately actually shows the lack of, basically regard for how they're actually feeling.
So Vincent's just messaged in saying we've always welcomed everyone into this country, but we've lost our identity. England is just somewhere I live. Who am I now? And Samara, let me ask you, if I went and put a Union flag on a lamppost, I'm telling you, it would be removed immediately.
Yeah, I'm sure it would, and I haven't seen many of those Union Jack sort of flags at any of the Palestinian protests, which was just quite an interesting fact. But I think that when we don't live in those countries, those people who don't live in those countries, they tend to get this sort of hindsight view of what the old country was and defending the old country, but not actually thinking this is where I live now, this is Britain, and I think that we need to get rid of that.
How do we get that feeling back? How do we get people to fly the Union Jack with pride? How do we do that?
That's a great question.
So well, and the reason that is a
seems very far away right now.
Well, in the same road as the road I'm talking about is a very traditional East London boozer, and they fly the St George's flag out there. Now, I don't think, even in this day and age, you can fly a St George's flag without someone criticising you.
I don't know. I think, well, we see. I don't know about St George's flags. I think.
Right. Whoa. Go on.
Well, they've historically had a few different connotations over the years. A few different organisations.
It is the flag of England.
They have used them inappropriately though. You can accept.
So
there is a
the
bit
Palestinian flag.
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
but
some interesting
and we are criticising the Palestinian flag.
Yes.
And being flown in the UK. In fairness.
So in America,
Sure.
in America, which again is a multicultural society like ours allegedly,
Sure.
they have the flag, their flag, in every classroom, in every hospital, in every public place. Should we put the Union Jack into our classrooms?
No, I think we've got bigger priorities for education funding than putting a flag in.
It's just a flag. It's not going to cost much.
Well, it will. It will inevitably cost much because they'll mismanage the process of doing it.
No, you're not really worried about the cost, are you?
Well, no,
you're
I think
worried
it's
about what it looks like.
I think they're just bigger issues to deal with in education.
What about that, Samara? We're starting to see British politicians actually using the Union flag behind them when they do addresses. That's a very American thing, as you see, where they have the stars and stripes behind them. Would that help? It's a really interesting
I think it
point.
would, absolutely, because the Union Jack stands for a lot of things like freedom and what this country fought for, especially in World War II against the Nazis, etc. So I think it's actually really important to have a bit of nationalism right now when we're getting attacked from all sides, the Red Sea, etc. We don't have to get into that, but we need a little bit of love for Britain, and I think the Union Jack is a good way of showing that.
A bit of love for Britain, Andy.
A bit of love for Britain, yeah, great. I don't understand what a flag's got to do with having love for Britain.
Well, maybe that's the problem.
Well, I'd argue, community, contributing to community, spending time with your kids, that kind of thing. That's having love for Britain, having love for British culture.
That's the point. What it does is it shows you the cohesiveness. It's a visual reminder every day that this is the United Kingdom. This is the country you live in.
Sure.
And that, even when I lived in America, I was very taken by the patriotism for the United States.
Yeah, the United States, I'd argue they go a little bit far sometimes with their patriotic values, and they kind of... They take it the wrong side of the nationalist line.
My son, who's now 35, but when he was a teenager, played ice hockey for Haringey. And before every match, because obviously it comes from America, ice hockey, every match played at Ali Pali or the Isle of Wight, wherever it was, they played the national anthem, and the parents watching in the freezing cold stands used to stand up. And that would be good to see at all of our sporting events, all of our official events, wouldn't it? I was proud to do that.
I totally agree.
It's these little incremental things that make a difference.
I think it's about people in this country standing up for what they believe and to say we're proud of this country. And I think that instills in people coming to this country that we have
not be embarrassed.
Not be embarrassed. A set of common shared values. That to me would be progress.